So I saw a great video the other day by Omar Gonzalez, and he talked about the top 5 reasons why his old Fujifilm cameras are better than your new ones. And that's a great title, of course, because you can get people to watch that. But all of Omar's videos are great. He's just such an awesome photographer and YouTuber. So I'll link it below. This way you can check it out. But it got me thinking that it has been a minute, like a long minute, since I broke out this camera, the Fujifilm X Pro 1, and used it. So because of Omar's inspiration with that video, I decided to dust off the X Pro 1, and I coupled it with the Fujifilm 23mm f1.4 lens. I took it out today for some street photography. And so I want to talk to you about that experience in this video today, and I hope you like it. So this used to be my go-to camera, and it would always be in my base case, in my double base case, or in a backpack with me. And I'd use it all the time to document my gigs when I played around town, or street photography, stuff like that. But when I got the XT4 and then the XT5, you know, I had a lot more options. So this wound up sitting on the shelf more and more. And I'm so glad that I watched Omar's video and I was inspired to take it out today, because it was such a fun experience using this camera, which was the first X Pro camera with an interchangeable lens. So this is a classic, iconic camera. And when I first used it, I still do, the 35mm f1.4 original lens. Mine, I dropped it like an idiot and destroyed the mount, and it doesn't work anymore. So eventually I'll get another one because I love that lens, but that's why I'm using it with the 23. But the camera with that lens not only is one of my favorite combinations, or was, but it was just the most beautiful looking aesthetic combination. Like the original 35 with this camera, perfect looking. So for those of you who are like, I want my camera to look cool and I want it to take great photos, like that was the ish back in the day. So what's it like though, using a 12-year-old camera with 12, I think it's 12 megapixels, somewhere around 12 megapixels, this camera. What's it like using that in 2025? Well, there's actually a lot of pros to it. There's so many cool things about it. The first thing is that the camera is like a brick. I mean, I know people complain about Fuji's build quality nowadays, and I think that's in a lot of ways valid and justified. But when you pick up an old one like this, it really is like solid, and the camera just feels great. The other thing that's cool about an older camera is it's simple. So there's not that many buttons and dials, and they were figuring out like kind of the setup. It has a D-pad, which is great. But the autofocus system is like super archaic. Let me see can I get it to do anything. It doesn't have a memory card in there, but like, check this out. So you see that one little square? Basically, you have squares here that you can pick, you see? So I can rotate to these different squares. However, the great thing about this autofocus system, because it's so simple by like the modern standards, is that I just found myself doing the old school thing, which is I left it in the center, I would press halfway to focus, and then recompose with my finger halfway on the button. And that's the way we did it back when autofocus systems were all kind of crap, before iFocus and all of that. And the first thing I noticed when I started shooting with this today was like, this is awesome. It's simple. The autofocus system is not great, it's slow, and but it's simple, and there's not much to think about. The interface is more simple too. One of the things that's really simple about it is that you don't have the programmability on the X Pro 1 that we're so used to now with the newer Fujifilm cameras, where you can basically map any button to anything. You can't really do that on this camera, so you're stuck with however that it was, which also is interesting because it's a little bit limiting. But again, it kind of forced me not to care. So the only thing that I moved around or changed is the menu. I had it kind of in the film simulation land, and then I would just change that for my film simulation. I'm gonna tell you more about that because that was a weird experience too. And back on this camera, you don't have nearly as many sims. You have black and white. So you have black and white with a red, green, and a yellow filter. So I use mostly like black and white with yellow, or I'm sorry, with green or red. And then the other thing that I had to do, the one function button on the top here, I mapped from my ISO. So it does not have an ISO dial. It has a exposure compensation dial, which I always hated. And actually, now that I think about it, I used to have this taped because it would move so easy. So it didn't even have an ISO dial. And honestly, folks, it's nice. It's simple. This is something I was talking about in the RF now that I think about it, where I felt like there was just too many buttons and dials on the RF. This is like super, super simple. Another thing that I love, now this is more about using a rangefinder, so it's not technically just this camera, but the great thing about the rangefinder cameras is that the viewfinder is all the way on the edge here because it's not through the lens, right? It's just, I mean, nothing is now, I guess, I don't know, but it's on the end here. So the camera, you're not like shoving it in your face with your nose on the screen. It's all right here. It's a much more elegant, luxurious way of shooting. I love it. So that's something I kind of missed about shooting a rangefinder. The size, of course, it's small, it's compact. And overall, the shooting experience with this was awesome. Now, here's what it forced me to do, because I was kind of going down memory lane with this camera. I went back and I pulled a bunch of photos that I took with it back in the day. And these are some of my favorite photos. I'm looking at them now, I'm like, wow, I really kind of, when I didn't know anything about photography, I still was able to take some photos that, like, I look at them now and I'm like, maybe I lost something. It's one of those things where the more you learn, you know, like sometimes you kind of lose that rawness to it. So that was the first thought I had. But then the second thought was just, this is a great camera. So a lot of these photos we're taking at gigs, and it's just simple and easy to carry with you. The other thing is, because it's so old, this one's in very good condition, my X Pro one. It doesn't really have any smashes or bumps or bruises. However, like, I'll just take this and throw it in to my base case. Like, my double base has these pockets on the front of the case, and I'll just throw it in there. And I don't care if it gets bumped around a little bit, because it's already so old and broken in. And so it's like something that I don't feel nervous about taking with. Hey everyone, I'm interrupting my own video to tell you about two things really quickly. Number one, I have a Patreon now. So if you want, you can join me there. It's gonna have a private Discord where we can chat about photography. I'm gonna post early reviews. I'm gonna post behind the scenes content, all that kind of stuff. So check that out in the description below. And for those of you who are really looking to up your portrait photography and you're really serious about becoming an amazing portrait artist, I also run a coaching group for photographers. Now, we talk about becoming the best portrait artist you can be. We also talk about business. I do business mentoring and coaching in there, and we talk about life. It's great. It's a lot of fun. Again, all the info in the description, and I hope to see you there. Bye. Now, the other thing is, because I shoot mostly manual, I don't like even to be in aperture priority. It's not my preferred way. I like to prioritize me. Get it? Prioritize, priority. Anyway, the thing is that I'll shoot manual, but then I'll have a fast enough shutter speed, like when I do street photography, so that I can just change the aperture. So again, it's so great. You have an aperture ring, right? Now that's not the camera, of course, but that's how I like to shoot. But having the wrist strap in my left hand, it's really comfortable. Okay, so here's where it got kind of weird. So first of all, it's slow. So I would say that this camera kind of moves at the speed of an older GFX. So you push the button. Maybe I can get it to do so. Okay, so I push the button. The shutter sound is actually beautiful. It's really satisfying shutter sound. Let me see if you can hear that. Ooh, nice. But it's slow. So it'll like, and you can hear it. It's like chunk, because it's taking a little time to focus. I mean, it is a Fuji camera. What can you say? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Anyone from Fuji who's watching this, just a little joke. Don't forget, you know, you can throw me an endorsement anytime. It's like using a GFX. And the cool thing about that is that it just slows your butt down. So I'm I was much more deliberate using this camera, and I really like that about it too. It just makes you more deliberate. And then you're not so worried about trying to capture everything. You know it's going to be slow. You're shooting like it's the year 2000, and it's simple because you just know that's what you're going to get. So the shooting experience was cool, a little different, simple. I liked it. Okay, so here's where it got weird. So I always shoot in RAW, and then it dawned on me when I used to use this camera back in the day, I used to shoot in JPEG plus RAW or just JPEG. And then I would apply my film sim, I'd do my little dance, and I'd be done. However, now I shoot in RAW all the time because I want the latitude to adjust them. And then I just import those RAWs into Capture One. And Capture One is very smart, and it has already the film sim applied, but then you can change it if it's a RAW file because it's all in Capture One. And there's a lot of details about that too that I don't know very well, but I've had it explained to me by people much smarter than me. Like my friend Matt, who's in my coaching group. Matt, he explained all of that to me. And so if you're watching, Matt, shout out. But anyway, the film sims are in there. You can pick whichever one you want. I didn't realize that, well, this 12-year-old camera, that doesn't happen. So when I imported the RAW files, I just figured I'd see the film simulations I put on. And they just all came in like straight JPEGs. So I was like, okay, I'll just switch them. And so, but it didn't let me because it only had a generic profile. So it said X Pro 1 generic, and then it had about 4 options. That was it for film sims. So being the genius that I am, I said, okay, I'll just switch it to an X-T5 profile. But when I looked at the Fuji profile list in Capture One, everything was generic. So it didn't let me basically use any film simulations. So then I started manually finagling with them, which was a little annoying. Then I remembered that I used to use this program. It's a plugin, and it works with Lightroom, and it works with Capture One, and it's called Dehancer. And I did a couple of videos about it years ago, but Dehancer is this huge list of like 80 or 90 film simulations, and they have like Agfa, Kodak, Fujifilm, all kinds of different film sims. And so it's like, you know what? Let's just put that through there, and that's what I did with these photos. And that worked out pretty well instead of using my film sims. Next time I use this, I will definitely shoot in JPEG so that I can apply the films from the sims from the camera as well. But that was kind of a weird thing. So that kind of was a big, and again, this is such an old camera. Like you can get a 5-year-old camera, probably it's gonna have the film sims in there. Like my X-T4, I've never had a problem with, for example. But this camera gave me a little bit of an issue. So that was the weirdest part. The other thing was the image quality. So the image quality is good. Like if you look at the photos from this camera, they really do look great. Now, if you pixel peep and you zoom in close, yes, of course, they're gonna fall apart a lot faster than any of the 26 megapixel cameras, and of course the 40 megapixel cameras. So it does have a lot to be desired there. However, I don't ever zoom in on photos in the real world. So does it matter? No, it really doesn't matter. I mean, it's way, way overblown. But they're not the most detailed. The other thing that kind of pleasantly surprised me is I was able to pull out or pull in a lot of detail from the highlights, more than I thought I'd be able to, because you don't have a lot going on here in resolution, and of course with the APS-C, you have less dynamic range. But I was surprised by the amount of detail I was able to pull out and get back clouds and sky and stuff like that. So it was interesting all around. So should you go buy an X Pro 1? No, I don't think so. The problem with a camera like this, I mean, you could, I think if you don't care about anything more modern, I guess it's okay, but I think it's too old. I wouldn't recommend buying it. Here's another thing, besides those, what I just talked about like the film sims and the software, it doesn't work with some modern lenses. Now, I haven't had any problem with my Fujifilm lenses. However, I had a Viltrox, I think it was the Viltrox Pancake lens. I tried it on here when I got that for review because I figured small lens, small camera did not work at all. So you're not going to be using every lens. If you have third-party lenses, I don't know, they may or may not work if it's an autofocus lens. That's something to keep in mind if you're gonna buy like the OG Fujifilm camera. The other thing that also Omar talked about, the battery life in these older cameras, it sucks, people. That's why they made those bigger batteries. And so I carried an extra battery in my pocket. I walked around for an hour and the battery was like screaming for dear life. So I had to change it. Other than those few things though, there's no reason I'll ever sell this camera. I mean, I wouldn't get any money for it anyway, probably get a small amount of money for it, but it just offers so much and it's so small and compact and it just looks freaking super cool. Like, check that out. It looks so cool. And it's made well. It kind of is meat and potatoes in every sense of a camera, how it could be. It doesn't give you any frills, but it just has a very satisfying user experience. And it's something that I don't mind if I drag it around and it clunks into things or whatever. I mean, I do mind. I am a Fuji user and you're all nuts with that kind of stuff. However, it's not gonna end my world if it got a ding here or there. I'm not gonna like go on to the Fujifilm forums and be like, can someone help me? I got a little ding on my dial, which I've seen before. Godspeed to you, my friend. And it's just a lot of fun. So where does this video lead you? Nowhere, absolutely nowhere. You just wasted 8 minutes and 32 seconds of your life. No, I'm kidding. I am kidding. I guess the thing is, if you have an older camera and you have a newer camera, don't neglect the older camera. Don't leave them outside, folks. If they're cold, you're cold, okay? And remember that, like, the same thing, like really, Omar said this better than I ever will in his video, but like, if you're on a budget, check out an older camera. For me, I just like to be inspired, and I feel like I've been using so many different things recently because, you know, I have stuff I review, and I'll get cameras or lenses that I'm able to borrow. Like I was able to borrow the RF, use it and send it back. And there's something like really disjointing or daunting or jaunting. I don't even know if that's a word, but there's something jarring, that's the word, about using a different camera constantly and a different lens constantly. Like, it's just like, it could throw you off. It throws off your exposure equilibrium, okay? So using a camera that I'm very familiar with, that I've used a lot, that has a special place in my heart, like, it was great, it was fun. So that's the video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I can swing this around. See, it's not going anywhere. Actually, I shouldn't be too stupid because I have my 23mm lens on here, and that was not cheap. Here's wishing you an awesome day. Don't forget to subscribe, like the channel. Go and take some great pictures. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.